Previously on the Game On podcast.
You know, you can imagine, we talk about Michael Aish and Bruce Lindsay being legends. Well, you know, we'd only seen blokes like Dermot Brereton and Jason Dunstall and Tony Lockett on TV. You'd never, you know, dream that you're going to be playing against them, you know, in 6 months' time. So we just needed to make sure that physically we were ready. And I guess initially we probably didn't challenge, you know, some of those big teams with some of those star players, you know, consistently. But over time, and, you know, when we realised that, you know, we were good enough and we did have what it takes, and then mentally we were able to do it consistently and get some good results.
I think a part of that too was back then you played at Windy Hill, Victoria Park, Moorabbin. You know, I think that played a fairly big part. Now, Bix, you debuted against Essendon at Windy Hill?
Yeah, that's right. It was a game, it was actually the Crows' first game in Melbourne, because I think we played, round one was Hawthorn, was a win, round two was Sydney, round three was back to, so back, I think it was Sydney, then Carlton, then round four was our first game in Melbourne, Essendon, and it was blowing a gale, and Kevin Sheedy famously had tied down the windsock so that we wouldn't be able to work out, you know, which way the wind was blowing, and we had, there's this great story with Neil Curley where we got to the ground and we were ushered to, you know, Knuckles is at the front, he was the team manager, and he said, "Where's our change rooms?" And they sort of took us through sort of under the grandstand to these rooms, and North Melbourne were playing the reserves game before us against Essendon, and we were using the same change rooms, and they were very sort of primitive, just like a SANFL change room, you know, big square room with, you know, 40 hooks on the wall, and all the North Melbourne players had, you know, their bag in front of a hook with all their with their clothes hanging on the hook with their shoes tucked underneath. And Curls walked in and they said, "Here's your room." And he said, "Well, North Melbourne, they've got all these clothes in there." He said, "No, you're sharing it with them." So Neil said, "Bloody bullshit, we're sharing it." And he literally just walked around and grabbed everyone's clothes, everyone's shoes, everyone's bag, and threw it up into a corner. So there was this massive pile of everything in the corner. And he said, "Okay, boys, grab yourself a hook. This is our room now." And as we were running out to go onto the ground, sort of North Melbourne was sort of waiting for us to come out of the room. And as we were sort of going in the race, you could hear North Melbourne saying, "What the hell?" You know, they'd walked into the room and all there was all of their clothes were in this giant pile in the corner of the room, just stacked in a heap. So I'm not sure how that went down, but sort of we were out on the oval, so we didn't have to deal with that. But that was New's mentality. He was very combative, and he thought that we deserved our own change rooms, and you know, people had paid their money to come watch, you know, the main game, which was Adelaide v Essendon, not to watch the North Melbourne reserve. So he had no qualms at all, but just throwing all their stuff to one side.
Well, this is the second story we've heard about Knuckles getting rid of the reserves' clothes and bags. We had a story from Victoria Park where he decided to throw the bags out of the door for you guys. So maybe he's done more work instead of the coaching box. He was ushering more and more players' gear out of the door. Done well.
No, look, Neil was great to have around the place, and you know, obviously, you know, with his passing, you know, it does make you appreciate. You hear all the great stories.
Sportscast SA presents Game On. Game On. South Australians' destination for everything sports. Local, national, and international sports. AFL football, soccer, basketball, golf, baseball, tennis, cricket, and any other sports played in this wide world. And we're going to have a blast doing it. So sit back, relax, and let's do this thing. Welcome to Game On.
And welcome to Game On. Once again, joined by Malcolm in the studio, and Mark Bickley last week. Thanks for his time, but it was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, as always, Bix, very studious, very thoughtful. Fantastic giving him his time and really, you know, thought about each question and answered it specifically and in quite detailed. No, he was great.
He talked about obviously playing at some of those suburban Victorian grounds. I mean, we're spoilt here in SA. We do have some pretty good grounds, but you know, some of the iconic grounds like Windy Hill, Victoria Park, down at Moorabbin, You know, for the SANFL players to experience that, obviously, before they've changed it, obviously, to the main grounds in Melbourne is a good thing.
Oh, and it was certainly a hell of a lot harder
Yeah.
as a visiting side compared to nowadays.
And it's great to see the AFLW starting to come back to those grounds and actually sort of incorporate, you know, those home clubs back into it as well.
Yeah,
So
playing at Victoria Park, playing at Princes Park, our terms and whatever grounds they're called now.
yeah, well, sponsorship dollars are certainly well and truly part and parcel of it.
Yep.
But no, thanks to Mark Bickley and giving us some really good insight into the early days of the Crows and obviously his time in the SANFL as well.
Very much so.
Around the grounds.
And today, mate, in the Around the Grounds, we're going to have a little bit of a look at the baseball, Adelaide United in the soccer. It's getting to the business end of the gridiron over in America there, but we're going to start off with the cricket, mate. BBL 12, a bit of a wrap.
It's it is looked for a while out now that Perth Scorchers and Sydney Sixers being the two best sides. A bit bizarrely that Adelaide beat Sydney Sixers 2 of the first 3 games.
Yep.
But they do look the best 2 teams. But let's wait and see.
Hurricanes snuck in after a bit of a calamity of errors, really, in that last game. Zampa dropping a couple of catches that he probably should have taken.
And Brisbane stuffed up the run chase. Look, let's be honest, that was another country where there'd be match-fixing claims going. It was that bad by both sides.
Potentially, you might be right. What went wrong for the Strikers? I mean, it's a season where they give good hope at the beginning. They started off like a house on fire, and you thought, okay, we've just got to maintain the rage a little bit. But it fell apart a little bit sooner than we'd hoped.
You were along the first 3 games and you could see the plan in place quite particularly, very meticulous, every ball, and thinking, geez, how good's this? And then to fall away for the absolute rabble, which it was the last few games and last Friday night, where amazingly the Stadium Management Authority managed to be worse than what we were on ground, and they closed the bar as the winning 4 was the bar was absolutely packed, licensed to print money, and you closed the bar when the staff were rostered on. And it's not like you've got the kegs are tapped.
Yep.
You're only taking cards, so it's not that side of things. Bizarre.
Obviously, the game finished a little bit earlier than everybody had anticipated. So,
there was for as well.
There was time there as well.
Crazy.
Very interesting, especially when you messaged me about that. I was like, well, hang on, what's going on there? That doesn't make sense. And, obviously I'm assuming that not only the Stadium Authority is getting some money for that, but the Strikers and the Cricket Association are going to get some as well, SACA as well.
Just ridiculous.
It is.
And as we got, there were things there, in terms of bizarre, that you bowl a team out for 15.
Yes.
Chase 230.
Which is a BBL record.
And still managed to miss finals.
It's that inconsistency that is plaguing not only the Strikers, but a few other teams that are going around the place at the moment. You're right. Bowling a team out for 15, and you're like, everything's going right here and going really, really on the right track to be in the finals once again. And then to chase 230 in a game that, they probably weren't expected to win, especially at the innings break.
No.
And 210 would have been pretty good to chase, but 230 was exceptional. And, yeah, you're right, we don't make the finals. What is missing?
And walking out of Adelaide Oval that night, and it was unusual because it was a 2020 game you actually got pumped and got involved in.
Yes.
Not the traditional 2020 of just have a chat to your mates and all that.
Yep.
And, to then bomb out from there, bitterly disappointing to say the least.
I think there'd be a few Strikers fans that would certainly be disappointed with the season so far, or the season thus far. But, it's going to make for an interesting final series. But once again, it has gone a little bit longer than you would have hoped. Do you see changes coming about next year?
I think it's 13 less games in the next TV rights deal, which has already been signed off. So at least that is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean,
it's quite crazy as a cricket nut that you do lose interest in it before the end.
Yeah.
It's longer than an episode of Blue Hills, and seems like home and away it's still going. Yeah.
McGrath, we got some news today that she's done pretty well and earned herself a good reward, I suppose, for her efforts in 2022.
Yeah, making the team of the year. She's had a very good year, particularly in India.
Yes.
That was probably the signing on of her internationally. She averaged 70 odd in India, and of course captaining the lady strikers to the win.
Yep.
Feels weird as a South Australian cricket supporter saying those words.
And that was a fantastic game too. I mean, we go back to that a couple of months ago, and geez, we were up and off of our seat that night, going, that they may have missed the opportunity in the semi that we were watching at the time, and they got through that, and then the young lady who I named
Bridget Patterson,
that's the one, had a little bit of trouble in a couple of big games, and she came to the fore and really hit the winning runs, and well deserved.
And then in the final, it looked like the change of innings nowhere near enough, and then all of a sudden, Healy, Gardner, Perry was still in. There was one at the other gun. We're all out.
Yep.
We're out. And they were 3 for 8. So suddenly, hey, we're right in this.
Yes.
And just kept consistently taking wickets to knock them over, which was huge.
And we've talked about it once before. Karen Rolton Oval is really that perfect setting, for watching cricket at that level. Not only local club level, but also, some internationals as well.
The male is the far side is going to be worked on, that there will be, to get rid of that mound and have seating there is the word.
Okay.
It's got around. I did hear when I was there to watch the Scorpions,
the
ladies' side play on Saturday, so hopefully that comes to fruition.
I mean, it was a ground that was sort of built, for that boutique stadium type feel, and you bring your deck chairs, you bring your rugs, you sit on the hill a little bit and watch some cricket. But some seating would be, sort of a great addition.
I'd rather play Shield games there. To be at the last Shield game at Adelaide Oval, and there were 38 people there on the last day, I think the Shield might as well just play them all at Karen Rolton.
Yep. Maybe some deal with the stadium authority that requires so many matches there, but maybe it can be worked out. I mean,
charging $10 to get in and $17 to park your car, lunacy as well.
Doesn't help. All right, we move on.
Yep. Tennis, mate. We get into the business end of the Australian Open.
Yeah, a couple of weeks here in Australia at the moment, over in Melbourne. Yeah, but geez, the seeds went out early in a few of the men's and the women's draw, and it really opened up for a few players. And I suppose my big one was Djokovic v Diminar the other night. You had high hopes for Diminar, but geez, Djokovic just took him apart.
Yeah, it was a bit like that Port North grand final, 1 goal in mine in terms of, he was just way too good.
It had all of the hallmarks of a really, really good game. It looked like Diminar was up for the fight, but Djokovic almost went to a whole new level. And after, in his press conference, obviously, he sort of said that, there was a little bit of back and forth with what had happened the year before. And it's amazing how certain players get up for certain games.
It was 2-2 in the first set, and then he just absolutely dominated. Again, personally, I think Alex only stated facts. Yep. I don't think there was anything wrong whatsoever with what Alex had said the previous year. So, anyway, that's my thoughts.
Just going back to that match there also, there was too many of the same balls hit from Diminar that didn't change up the game enough. He needed to try something a little bit different. I mean, at the stage that Djokovic started to go absolutely berserk and strike everything at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and with such accuracy, he needed to slow the play down a little bit. Bit more loopy, a little bit more top spin.
Shots.
Yeah.
Try something.
That's exactly right. And then Djokovic goes along and absolutely belts Rublev last night. 1, 2, and 4, I think it was. I think he's probably once again the man to beat.
Yeah, and I do think I agree with you. I think Tsitsipas.
Tsitsipas
is probably the one chance.
I was really impressed with Sebastian Korda. Really pushed Djokovic here in Adelaide at the Adelaide International, and was going along great guns, had a couple of really tough matches, and then unfortunately had to withdraw from his quarterfinal match a couple of days ago. And that was a real disappointment for me, because I thought, he's one that may be able to just take Djokovic that little bit further. Tsitsipas, he's around the mark as well. He's got Mark Philippoussis in his corner. He's invited Margot Robbie. Who knows, he might get on a bit of a roll.
Yes.
On the women's side of things, it really looks like it's opened up for Victoria Azarenka.
It'd be great to see it win, a decade apart.
Yes.
As a mum
as well, yeah.
That. So that would be, fantastic. That's probably my main interest left, actually, personally.
I would
And
hope
the
that
men's
she wins
doubles.
it. Yeah. Oh, the men's doubles, yes. We'll talk about that now as well very, very quickly. This afternoon, a couple of Aussie wildcards.
Yeah.
The Special Ks 2.0, they're dubbing them at the moment. Kubler and Hitchjakata as wildcards win through to the Australian Open men's final.
Yeah.
Great reward for effort too,
fantastic.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll certainly, again, it's probably, as an Australian, fantastic. So
I think flipping around also from all the different sports over the last couple of days, every time I've flipped over to the tennis, there's either been the mixed doubles or the doubles where an Australian combination has been reasonably deep into the tournament as well. So, yeah, I think we always have done well in the doubles, regardless of what era. But we seem to have a new crop coming through as well.
bit of an Australian tradition with doubles, so probably the team side of it.
The Davis Cup.
We seem to resonate more than most countries.
Yep.
I think a lot of tennis players crave out for the team aspect. And
that's,
I think Nick Kyrgios is probably, as much as anyone in that way, I think he's a person who needs it.
Yes, agreed. But getting him into that team environment, some issues with Leighton, Dimonar's had a little bit of... And then Tomic comes along and says, well, I sort of feel sorry for Kyrgios as well. And I'm like, this is not going to end well because the barbs are going to start flying as well. But look, who knows? You're right. It's an interesting one because a lot of Australian tennis players, when they do play local club tennis, it's very much about the team aspect.
Yeah.
Once they go on tour, it's very much about the individual aspect.
Yep.
So they really look forward to the Davis Cup and these team events.
Yeah.
And we've obviously, the Hopman Cup moved from Perth. It's going overseas later in the year. Australia might do all right with that as well.
That's true. Yep.
All right, mate, we'll move on. Now, the SANFL, round one has been locked in.
Yeah, Nord playing the Eagles, at the home of football on the Friday night. Those two super sides in Port and the Crows having a game. Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my next question as to, is there anything that surprised you in the release of the draw? That's probably question number one. And two, what's probably the game you're most looking forward to? I mean, obviously, as Nord supporters, we're going to say Nord, but is there any others there that tickle the fancy?
Oh, look, I did have a glimpse. I was thinking I might go and have a look at the Sturt game on the Saturday as well. Bit of inkling there. But, yeah, obviously as a Nord man, that's the Friday night. But, yeah, I think Centrals have recruited really well. So, there's a lot of names, so probably a bit of interest there. South Adelaide as well, so, yeah.
Yeah, South Adelaide playing Central Districts at home on Saturday afternoon. Glenelg Sturt's an interesting one. I think Glenelg have got a couple coming back. Obviously, Turner from the Crows. Sturt look like they've recruited reasonably well as well. North should do the job against West Adelaide. Probably my surprise for round one was Adelaide and Port Adelaide. That was probably my one surprise.
Yeah. Look, again, I've said it before. All I'd love to know is the financial, actual honesty, whether we do need them in the competition or not.
Yep.
That's never, it's all been cloak and dagger, silk screen, things hidden. I think it just needs to be more up front.
Nord normally play Port on the Friday night, or have done for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years. It's been quite a few years. Going away from that tradition, interesting from the SANFL?
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup, because at least therefore it looks like Nord and North will play on Anzac Day, you would think.
Yep.
Hopefully at Nord.
Yep.
So, yeah, a lot of respect for the Eagles as a club.
Absolutely, and nothing against nothing against the SANFL scheduling. I'm just saying that traditionally it's been Nord and Port. You usually get 5, 6, 9,000 to round one game, which is a great way to kick off the season. Yeah, I'm a bit with you. My interest is probably with Sturt and Glenelg at Unley Oval there on Saturday afternoon, as well as obviously on the Friday night, Nord and the Woodville West Orange, the Eagles.
Very much. Yep.
All right, mate. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back after the break, we'll talk a bit of baseball, a bit of soccer, a bit of gridiron, and a bit of a local legend, Jake Brown, to join us.
Breaking the Premier runs record last weekend, and we'll have Jake on board shortly.
Fantastic.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
We'll kick off with the baseball.
Yes, the Giants. Go you Giants.
Well, they're in an interesting situation. They're up by 10 or 12 games midway through the season, and you thought, okay, things are going all right here. They win 12 in a row, which is the ABL record, and you think, things are starting to look up. They fell in a little bit of a hole. Really needed until the last round to get them over the line, but they did it in style. They really came to the fore. It looked like everything sort of came together for them, and we play a prelim final here this weekend.
So, but hopefully, and how does it work, therefore, with deciding where the grand finals play?
I believe that's a very good question. I'll need to follow that one up
as well.
I would hope that we probably would get a home final, but it may be one of those ones where one year it's Southern Division, next week next year Northern Division. But very good question, mate. I will follow that one up. They played Geelong Korea last weekend, winning all three in a clean sweep, which was exactly what the doctor ordered. A lot of positivity coming from the Adelaide Giants, saying that a lot of teams don't like coming and playing here at Adelaide. West Beach is a bit of a wind tunnel down there. Does cause a few teams a bit of grief from time to time.
Yep, hopefully it'll work in our favour.
Let's see how we go, and let's get behind them, and hopefully we can add to that WBBL trophy as an Adelaide team winning a grand final this year.
Hopefully.
Mate, we move on to soccer.
Yeah, good win by the Reds against Macarthur last week. Getting a player sent off early at 18-minute mark to end up winning from there was and fantastic game by Gucci, the goalkeeper.
Yep. Jeez, he saved a couple of beauties, didn't he?
He was sensational.
That one where the goal was open and he just sort of teleported basically to the ball on the line and swatted it away. That's absolutely fantastic.
He looked like telescopic Spider-Man to the rescue.
He was all over it, and it was probably the tough win that they needed to just sort of steady things a little bit, because it hadn't been a happy 100 for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and they've got some big games coming up, so...
Yeah, a couple of games against Melbourne City this Sunday at Amy Park, 2:30 for our local listeners, and then Brisbane Roar. So at home, again, tough games. There's no easy games, obviously, in the A-League, but you really want to be on the right side of those games there for sure.
At least that puts them back in the equation.
It does. Keeps them around that top 4, top 5, and gives them an opportunity to launch into the back half of the season in the finals.
Right, on your speciality, mate.
All right, mate. Yeah, we go to the gridiron. We're really starting to fire up towards the business end, a bit like the Australian Open. We're getting to those final couple of spots that are up for grabs. San Francisco 49ers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a bit of a game of defence versus offence. Who do you back generally, defence or offence?
In big games, I back defence.
Yeah. And I think that's where the Eagles probably have that little bit of an advantage, but they also are playing at home. Absolutely towed up, I believe, the Cowboys last weekend, which was well and truly needed for them to shake off a few hoodoos. But, I'm with you. The defence of the Eagles will probably win this game. And then in the other semi-final or divisional final, Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Your quarterback is generally the most important man in
key player,
most gridiron teams or NFL teams. Famous name, Patrick Mahomes. A little bit of an ankle injury, trained on it, I believe, today. We'll see what the assessment is, but he's losing one of your star quarterbacks late isn't great.
If he's trained on it today, I'd back injections for him to play.
Even with that, the Chiefs are actually the underdogs when they probably shouldn't be, but it really gets down to the quarterback. So I'm going to go with if Mahomes plays, they win. So it could be a Chiefs-Eagles final, which will be very, very interesting.
Yes, fascinating as always.
All right, mate, we'll take another quick break. Once we come back, we'll speak with Jake Brown.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break. Local legends.
Welcome to our Local Legends series. Today we're joined by Jake Brown, a Kensington cricketer who has broken a pretty special record. Malcolm.
You get into a bit of trouble if you called him Kensington Gardens. Just Kensington, the Browns. Ironically, it is Jake Brown. So congratulations, Jake. Incredible achievement. 9,512 runs, breaking the record of Wayne Bradbrook last weekend. You certainly had all week and all Christmas to sit and think about it, considering that you only needed the 4 runs to break it. Yeah, go through that side of it of the last few weeks leading up to it, mate.
Yeah, it was a little bit of time between it. I needed 34 heading into the Southern Districts game, and got to 32, and all the Southerns boys knew a fair bit about that and let me know. And then I managed to just sort of carve a cut shot to sort of a deep gully and hit Matty Sugg on the chest. He took a pretty good catch, so that was disappointing. And there was a chance we were going to get a hit in the second innings, but that didn't eventuate. And then had to wait another week again to play against Adelaide. I was very thankful it was a Saturday-Sunday game, so I knew at least I was going to get a hit at some point on the weekend. Okay,
let's go through your career a bit more thoroughly in terms of that. Started off at Kenzie when you were 11, so you've certainly been a Kenzie boy through and through. Winner of 3 Bradman medals, 13-14, 2013-14, 14-15, 18-19. How does it feel to have the greatest cricketer's name on to look at and just see that mere word, mate?
Yeah, it's quite incredible. It still blows my mind a little bit now when I think about it. That's the name that you think about whenever you think about batting in Australia or even around the world. So it's probably the most known name in cricket. So the fact that our medal in South Australia is named after the great Sir Donald Bradman, and the fact he's also a Kensington player also means quite a lot too.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kensington, Bradman, Clary Grimmett. There's been some incredible names at the Browns over the years. And that go through the influences. Understand that Andrew Rumbelow, who of course did previously have the Kensington record, that Rumbles has been a pretty big influence on you. Also John Palmer, and of course Greg Blewett and the quiet introvert in Dean Warmate.
Yep, that's right. All those guys have had a very big impact on me. Probably the one that missed out on that list there was Jamie Pinelli, our leading wicket taker for Kensington history. He was actually the person that got me to Kensington. I was meant to, in my catchment zone, I was meant to go play at Sturt. And Jamie actually spoke to my parents and then got me out to Kensington. So I'm very thankful to him that he did that. And then we got to play cricket together for years. And he's also one of my closest friends. And same with Johnny Palmer, it's a good mate of mine. And Rumbles was very influential in me getting a contract initially as well with the Redbacks. He was working under Rod Marsh in the high performance area, so Rumbles has had a huge impact. Then he coached the club as well while I was captain.
I admit I did have a wander around Parkinson on Sunday and went up the top and and obviously I knew the Jamie Pinelli nets. I admit I've got a bit of a beef on the sign up there. It doesn't have anything about Jamie's career on it.
I don't think they had enough room.
I think it needs to be added personally. So just a
if they had his
minor
stats
point
on underneath, that would be a really nice touch actually. Yeah,
just as a minor point. Now you've played at a very, very successful club. How many flags, Brownie?
3 2-day premierships, 5 one-day premierships, and we won the inaugural 2020 competition as well. What's that? 9 in total.
It's been incredible. And it's also fascinating as a minor point as well that Kensington Gardens as a football club wound up, yet Kensington Cricket Club
has thrived.
Has been the power, consistently now for probably the last, virtually like don't hold the finals unless Kenzie are in it sort of thing. And of course you were playing in the grand final, the most incredible thing I think I've ever sat watching a game of cricket, the Kensington Uni Grand Final, where the whole game stopped while that person drove down the steps at Karen Rolton. Is the most bizarre thing I have ever seen happen. And I've got to admit, I was sitting with the Griebers, with Kirsten and Grieber, with Liam's parents, and we both looked where our cars were parked because we thought it was a car rolling down the steps. And then it's gone over the steps. And the whole game stopped. All the players have turned and just watching, and the noise as it went down, it was just. And then the person got out the car, parked, and came in and watched.
They're not small steps either. They're huge. Yeah, that was quite incredible. We all stopped on the ground and in the change rooms watching, and yeah, the sound it made. I can't believe the car was able to still continue after that. To be honest,
I actually thought you were just about to say there was an Uber delivery. Someone had ordered food on the ground.
It was unbelievable. The noise is just it was.
That's unbelievable,
isn't it funny? So we don't talk about like it was a close finish. Uni just got up and all that, but. Anyone catch up now who was there? Geez, how about the car? It's not about the cricket. So, yes. So, Brownie, yes, you got the runs with your favourite front foot cut shot as well. It was sort of symbolic of that. Now, I will go back. You made your first class debut in 2008. Only played 5 games from 2008 to 2013. No need for you to comment, Jake. But yet again, a South Australian player whose performances demanded far more opportunities. And I'll include Brad Davis and Kelvin Smith in that regard. The ridiculous thing of Chad Sayers taking 300-odd district wickets before he got picked. Always a beef that we look after interstate players well and truly recruits before our own. No need for you to comment, Jake, but it's something I feel really strongly about. And as someone who actually goes to Shield cricket, it was one of the 38 who was there on the last day of the last Shield game. Bumper to bumper it was, mate. Just extremely frustrated. So, yeah, no need for you to say anything there, but, yeah.
Mate, might just rewind a little bit. Junior cricket, where did you start your junior cricket? Was it at Kenzie as well?
No, I grew up in the Adelaide Hills, so played some cricket. I think I was 8 when I played under 13s at Urayla Cricket Club, played some cricket at Bridgewater as well. And then, made the move down to Kenzie when I was 11. And as I said before, Jamie Pinelli was instrumental in getting me to play there. And, that's the greatest thing that happened to my career, being involved with Kensington. So, and I've been there ever since. I went to Ross Trevor College and I've played school cricket as is the requirement. But, been at Kenzie ever since I was 11.
Also, I will say, Jake's also a pretty accomplished left-hand medium pacer.
Well, that was my next question.
It smacks of, again, why he hasn't played in one days and the 2020 bit at the start. Yeah, bloody ridiculous.
Mate, scoring runs doesn't obviously seem to be a bit of a problem, but, do you like turning the arm over a little bit?
Yeah, I still do somehow at 37. I bowled 10 overs in a row on Saturday, and that was probably not very smart. I paid the price probably until yesterday. I was pretty sore. The body doesn't handle as well anymore. But, yeah, I do. I still really enjoy it. It keeps me involved in the game. Being an all-rounder for my whole career, I find it hard when I can't bowl, so I still do enjoy it.
Obviously, results at the moment, we don't quite get them as frequently as we like. How is Kenzie sitting at the moment?
They're on top of the table.
I thought that might be the case, but I just wanted to ask anyway.
Yeah, we're a game clear of West Torrens, who are in second, and us and West Torrens have also had the bye so far. So we're a little bit out ahead at the moment. Yeah,
it's a bit weird to win a game outright by about 10 past 12 too, mate.
Yeah, it was. It was quite incredible, actually. It was a strange game on Saturday, none for 60 and then all out 103. So, no, it was good, and we had a good outright win against Teachery Gully, which was actually a big shock, a little bit of a surprise in that game as well. So we're playing some good cricket at the moment, which is nice. Clearly
the boys wanted to get to the bar.
Absolutely. Yeah, we managed to...
Kenzie have always been good at that.
Yeah.
Our coach, Russell Thompson...
I did score for Kenzie as a kid, so yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, our coach, Russell Thompson, gave us the green light to have a few beers on Saturday night, even though we had to front up Sunday, which was very nice of him.
Yeah, look, incredible achievement, Brownie. It's something, probably more of the enormity probably sinks in a few years' time, in terms of, and breaking, Wayne Bradbrook is a legend of South Australian district cricket. It's probably also a record in some ways a bit frustrating because he didn't play more Shield cricket. But it's an incredible achievement, and look, go on and good luck in the rest of the year and continuing on, and obviously a finals campaign to come this year, and good luck, mate.
No worries. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate the kind words.
Thanks, mate. We might talk to you around finals time, and hopefully you're holding the Shield at the end of the season.
Yeah, it was good to see the family photo as well, and good to see what was in the paper on the Sunday Mail as well, mate. So excellent.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks mate.
You're listening to the Game On podcast. We'll be right back after this short break. Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe.
Mate, we've just had Jake Brown from Kensington Cricket Club. I was going to say Kensington Gardens again. Kensington Cricket Club breaking an all-time record for the Saka, which is fantastic.
Oh, look, 9,512 runs.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
It's a big number, and hopefully Brownie cracks to 10,000. It's probably another year, play on next year to get that. And, he broke Wayne Bradbrook, and Braddles is also, Wayne and Craig brothers, both systematic with South Australian District Cricket. So, huge achievement, and hopefully he's got a couple more flags to play in.
Certainly at the age of district cricket that you'd say he'd be around for a few more years to probably get that record, but we'll see how we go. Hopefully he holds the trophy up, as we mentioned at the end of that, at the end of this year, and cap off a really, really good year for cricket.
And, the Browns are going to be around the mark again.
Yep.
You're listening to the Game On podcast. We'll be right back after this short break. Happy days.
Mate, we get into one of my favourite topics for the happy days is obviously happy birthday. We like celebrating a birthday, but today we have a birthday for Jake Saligo from the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, he's a player with plenty of promise and, is a key player in the Crows' future.
Yeah.
No doubt about that whatsoever.
Midfielder, played 16 games in 2022. That snuck up on me a little bit when I was researching Jake a little bit today. I thought he'd been around the 10, maybe 12 game mark, but 16 games in his first year, pretty good effort, really.
Yeah, and look, pretty composed.
Yes.
It wasn't one to panic as a kid. I think there's huge upside there.
Averaging 8.1 kicks, 6.6 handballs, 3.4 tackles in his first year, and capping it off with 6 goals. You're right, there is a lot of upside there for him, and he's probably one of those midfielders that the Crows are sort of calling out for or screaming out for a little bit.
Oh, I think so, because he's got to be a class.
Yeah.
He's above the Crows' traditional honest battlers in there. I think he's a real key.
Certainly look forward to seeing Jake Saligo play this season and build on his 2022 form. All right, mate, we move into tennis. Very topical at the moment, but Monica Seles becomes the only Yugoslav male or female player to win a Grand Slam title after beating Jana Novotná in 3 sets.
Great player, and we always wonder on the coulda-beens what,
the coulda, woulda, shouldas. Yeah.
Especially what happened. The bizarre bit of being stabbed by a spectator. We'll always wonder.
Great player in her own right.
Player.
Obviously coming from a set down 5-7 in the first set, but then really powered through with a 6-3, 6-1 victory. Jana Novotná's, again, no mug on a tennis court either, but you're right. What would have been with Seles had the stabbing not happened in Hamburg? It beggars belief that actually did happen in professional sport.
Very hard to
it's you can't comprehend.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
Mate, 89, cricket. Alan Border takes 7 for 46 against the West Indies.
Yeah, the left arm orthodox. It's funny on the wickets which really turn. The left arm orthodox is quite the go, and that's why Agar's been picked. If they get an absolute Bunsen burner, because he doesn't turn it too much, and you don't want that. And that's all AB did.
Yep,
it was just flight, and it did turn. But he was a better bowler than he gave himself credit for.
Now that was what I was going to say. You've seen most captains or specialist batsmen chuck the ball every now and then, but you're right. He didn't give himself enough credit for what he was able to bowl.
AB and Michael Clark both should have bowled themselves more.
Yep,
no doubt about that whatsoever.
Well, Clarkey though had Warney in his back pocket and also McGrath for a little while there as well. So. Pretty handy players to hold down both ends, so I can understand why he probably didn't. But AB, I agree. I would have liked to have seen him bowl a little bit more. And 7 for 46 is pretty good effort.
Yeah, won Australia a test match.
Absolutely. And moving on to our last, well, not so happy days, unfortunately, but we would like to talk about it. But basketball, LA Lakers legend Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter tragedy in foggy conditions in Southern California.
Yeah, look, it's easy in retrospect to say it shouldn't have happened, but it shouldn't have happened. Yep. It shouldn't have occurred. It shouldn't have been flying.
I think it was a shock for a lot of people. You don't expect that, especially if you're, absolute star athletes. And once again, he's regarded as one of the best basketballers, or was the best basketballers going around. He's definitely on my Mount Rushmore, that's for sure.
Well, it's just
a tragedy that shouldn't have happened. Agreed. All right, mate, let's scoot into the big time extra finish.
Extra time. Big finish.
A little bit of a personal one for you. We've got some SANFL speaking tours, or AFL/SANFL speaking tours.
Yeah, look, I'm interviewing Neil Baum at lunch in Melbourne on Sunday, February 19. Look, it's Adelaide Uni Footy Club past players, but anyone is welcome. The Rising Sun in Richmond, but look, anyone at all. There's no cover cost. It's just buy your meal and buy your own drinks for the day. Anyone interested at all? Because I'll be honest, we need some more numbers. Give us a call. 0414 678 815. As I said, 0414 678 815. Anyone and everyone is welcome.
Mate, if I could get over to Melbourne on that weekend, listening to Barmy talk would be absolutely fantastic. And no cover charge. Snitty, a pint of beer, and away you go.
Yeah.
You'd be pretty happy. So for any of our Melbourne listeners, I know we do have a few out there. Hopefully you can get along as well and support the event.
Yeah, look, as I said, give us a call. Greatly appreciate it, mate.
Yep.
Lawn bowls, mate, go for it.
Yeah, lawn bowls here in SA, we'll talk about that first.
Yep.
It's really lacking a lot of promotion at the moment. We haven't seen a lot, generally with the Facebook Lives and the different streaming services. You've at least got some sort of event going on. But SA, we really haven't nailed down any live streaming this year. But big tick to Grange and Lockleys. This Saturday night, around about 6 p.m, they are going to be live streaming a game, and they've done that off their own bat. You'd hope that the state body would take this on board as a little bit of an opportunity to potentially rearrange some of their Premier League games on a Saturday so that way streaming can be had. Certainly up on the East Coast through Queensland, a little bit through New South Wales, definitely through Victoria. Huge amount of live streaming. It's on almost 24/7 at times. I'd really like to see South Australia get to that point where we are promoting the sport a little bit better than what we are.
All sports have got to be smarter, utilise the modern technology, do it at the time which suits the most numbers.
Yep.
Just got to all be better.
And I think that level of interest, I mean, everyone wants to have a bit of a look and see what everyone's doing. Last year we had Super League, where it was basically some of the best players in the state were competing against each other in a franchise-type format. The publicity and the coverage on that was, almost every week for six or 8 weeks. This year, we've basically only had a couple of state finals that have been live streamed. We really need to do a bit better. There's some sports out there that are overtaking lawn bowls, especially when it comes to promotion and viewing via Facebook and all these other media streaming services that we'd like to see just get a little bit better.
Oh, and as I said, all sports. I'd have both footy and cricket.
Yep.
I come a Payneham person. I would have, as soon as the cricket finishes, I'd leave the stumps in the ground and I'd have a junior game on a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Every week.
Yep.
In terms of that way, people, you bar numbers, and it does not matter what game of sport you have on, people hang around. Just like they were doing very successfully with football, the ladies were playing on a Saturday night.
Yes.
And it actually made sense to utilise everyone in the one place, utilise your volunteers and all that.
They're already there, yeah.
And now it's been split up. I think it's an insane decision and just not thinking of the overall picture well enough.
Yep. Hopefully that can change over a period of time, and hopefully the right people are in charge of maybe listening, or maybe know somebody who, would like to see a little bit more of it. I know I'm seeing posts online that are screaming out for a little bit more local content, that's for sure, especially when we're seeing stuff over in Victoria and Queensland on all the time. I know there are costs associated with some of that, but there's also a state body that really should be controlling a little bit of that. But well done to Granger Lockleys for trying to put on some sort of event this weekend. They did ask me to commentate, but unfortunately I'm already previously engaged on Saturday night. But hopefully they can do it again, and maybe I'm either involved or I can also stream as well.
Yeah.
All right, mate, we'll come back to cricket. You're at Karen Rolton Oval for the Scorpions.
Yeah, pleasing it beat New South Wales on both days, Thursday and the Saturday. They're currently top. It's been really consistent batting where all the players there's been 3 players, Courtney Webb, Madeline Penner and Bridget Patterson have all made hundreds. Emma de Barouge has been a good contributor as well. With the ball, Amanda Jane Wellington and Gemma Barsby have been the main 2 there. But it was actually really pleasing and just aesthetically as a cricket nut on Saturday to go along. I think we had the big bash at the moment as it's built everything. And also because the fact the bats are so much better now. Mishits carry for 6.
Yeah.
So it was just really good to actually watch and aesthetically pleasing with some lovely cover drives, some correct defence played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm old. I know I'm old-fashioned. But, yeah, and it was good.
And a couple of those names that you mentioned there, obviously part of the Strikers WBBL winning team. Good to see them carry on and really, score a few runs.
Bridget Patterson looked really good on Saturday. She only got 20-odd because she'd made 152 in Perth to get us up there in a big game there, which actually finished in a tie, and South Australia won in the Super Over.
Yep.
Yeah, but Courtney Webb, they're just really impressive, the batting. Like chase 271.
That's a fair effort.
And get them with the first ball of the 47th over. They just batted it really smart. It was very impressive.
I'll be keeping an eye on the Scorpions over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully those results can keep going our way.
Yes, it was good. It was good. I think we're off to Hobart next.
Yep.
Before Queensland back here.
Okay.
AFL, mate, go for your predictions.
Yeah, we're obviously we've turned the new year now, and we're starting to get into the January period where trial games are starting to happen. One's looking $1 million on the track at the moment. All played well after each training session. But, yeah, a couple of predictions. I'm going to have a little bit of a look at the top 4 and maybe the bottom 4 at the moment, and we might fill in the gaps over the next couple of weeks. I think the top 4, you're probably looking at Geelong, Brisbane, Sydney. I'm just fighting for that 4th spot at the moment. I do see someone like a Richmond probably jumping back up into that echelon,
top 4
which is about where we are. And we hadn't conversed over this before the episode, so there you go. So you didn't know that one was coming.
No.
They would probably be my top 4 at the moment. My bottom 4, I probably see West Coast still being a little bit in that area at the moment. North Melbourne, Gold Coast.
No, I've got Gold Coast higher.
You got Gold Coast higher.
I've got Hawthorn.
That was my 4th one was Hawthorn. So we've talked about obviously Sydney doing well last year and obviously getting touched up a little bit in the final, and will it affect them? I don't think it will.
I think they've got too much talented youth to still come through. Yeah, we know teams quite often do bomb after losing a grand final, and losing it convincingly.
Yep.
But no, I do see them as better than that. Look, I've got Collingwood falling away purely because
the amount of games they won by under 7 or 8 points it was.
And the stats show that quite often it can be the other way around the next year. So I
think they're going to be around the 8 mark, but I see them falling out of the top 4. Yeah. Some interesting ones for me that could slide into that 3rd and 4th spot is probably Carlton and Melbourne. Probably Melbourne a little bit more than Carlton.
I've got Port
Adelaide.
Personally, I think they've recruited fantastically.
Yep.
I really rate Horn Francis. I can see, the whatever you want to call them, the terrific threesome or Batman Robin and all that sort of things. But him, Rosie and Butters, I just think could dominate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ability there.
Yeah, I just see Port just out of it at the moment. I think a lot of pieces have to come together.
They do.
And it is the first year that they are all going to be together. It's a big year for Ken Hinkley.
Oh, it's massive. If they start Paulie, geez, the Port supporters they eat him alive now. Let alone if they start to struggle.
Yeah,
it'll be entertaining if they do. That's for sure.
Do you see a little bit of a logjam through that, say 2 to 7?
As the best coach I've been involved with in terms of amateur league and all that, John Griffin, his favourite saying, it's a very fine line. It's a fine line between pleasure and pain, and I think it is. I think it's just a bit of luck, injuries. You know, Hawthorn losing Lewis is huge in terms of strained ACL, which is a bit of a weird one. Wright getting injured for Essendon. So I think there are a couple of sides who can't afford too many injuries.
Yep. A couple of new coaches on the horizon as well.
Yeah, and Clarkson at North Melbourne. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, what does that bring?
Look, there's a fair bit of oomph about him at the moment. I'm probably not quite as convinced as some in that way. But I do think there's a fair bit of upside there, but I'm just not quite sure it's as much as the Clarkson effect.
And Hawthorn have really gone down the massive rebuild track, which can work, but also they've cut pretty deep as well, and we've seen the Crows do that over the last 3 or 4 years, and they're just starting to reap a little bit of the reward for that, but hopefully they take another step as well.
No, I can see Hawthorn right in the mix for the spoon.
Yep. All right, mate, that ends a big episode once again. We always promise to do better, but we thank Jake Brown from Kensington for jumping on the phone tonight a little bit last minute. We had a couple of other guests lined up, but his record we had to have on the show at some stage, and tonight was the night, so yes.
We might have an ex-AFL CEO with us next week.
Oh, fingers crossed, mate. I'll leave that in your capable hands.
Yep. Good.
We promise to do better.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at SportsCast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.